You scour the web to ignite the flame of creativity, searching for the thing that will boost your terrain to the next level, though you never truly know how it will transform the tabletop. Hello folks, and welcome to Dice Chatter. My name is Donnie, and today we are looking at the ever-famous Giant's Causeway, taking the image of this natural wonder and implementing it into our tabletop creations. I thought some vibrant blue-green crystals would be perfect for a build like this, and the best part is I could see this creation being used for all kinds of tabletop games. Maybe some D&D as the Underdark takes over the surface world. Of course, we can't forget about those wizards in Frostgrave gaining power and strength from these vibrant crystals, and why not dip into some 40k as the green-blue glow gives us a taste of an alien world. Though whatever game is your favorite on the tabletop, it truly doesn't matter at this moment, because I'd say it is about time I show you how I made these mysterious crystals. So let's hop on over to the build. If you can cut out some perfect foam squares, then congratulations, but for peasants like me, I need a proxon. I went with 3 main foam square sizes, 1 inch, ½ inch, and 1/4 inch. For you metric folks, 25, 13, and 7 millimeters is close enough. The reason I stick with standard measuring here is because most of my miniatures are on 1 inch bases, and I want my crystals to be playable on the tabletop, not just a fancy looking sight blocker. There are plenty of photos all over the place of people walking on the Giant's Causeway, so why can't my miniatures do the same on my crystals? So I did debate and test out a bunch of different shapes and sizes, and I found that octagons were the easiest to cut repeatedly on the proxon and still had enough detail to make the build fun and interesting. So set your proxon wire to a 45-degree angle, measure out 1/4 of the way from the edge, and slice away every corner on each foam strip you cut out. Take your time, make some precise cuts, and even though the proxon is pretty accurate with its cuts, no need to worry if things aren't exactly perfect. These crystals are going to be small, so some missing details aren't the end of the world. So we now have a plethora of octagon strips of foam. Now we cut them down to whatever height you want for the tabletop. I wanted to cut mine to a length with a hobby knife rather than the proxon. This makes less of a clean cut at each height, and I kind of like the look of it. Though I did decide on 1, 2, and 3 inches for each foam crystal and added a few other odd heights as well. Then grab yourself some cardstock or even just a piece of printer paper like I did and start gluing down your crystals in an interesting formation. I always find it handy to have a couple minis nearby to help facilitate a playable terrain piece. Plenty of models will be using these crystals as stepping stones to get up to a higher level, giving your table a more playable and interesting y-axis. And that's something I'd argue is key for some memorable and fun tabletop games. Once you are happy with your shape, cut it out or tear away at the paper from underneath, then grab whatever your favorite base material is. Mine is peel and stick vinyl tile you can snag at any home improvement store. Make sure you go in and roughly trace out your crystal shape onto this base and give it some space on the edge, roughly maybe 1/4 or ½ inch or so. We cut out and bevel down the edges of our tile, and of course it is never a bad idea to add in a few bricks to show that these crystals came up and busted out of the earth. It can always be a bit of fun adding in some story into your terrain builds. Though it is key to keep the crystals and the base as separate pieces at this time. Trust me, this will make painting a hell of a lot easier. And speaking of painting, I'd say these crystals are pretty much ready to get covered in some colorful ink. I'll be honest, it took a few tries to learn that trying to duplicate the essence of a real-life crystal into a piece of foam is a pain in the ass. So after attempting test model after test model, I came to a crystal look I enjoyed, and I'm just sticking to it. Right off the bat, we prime everything gray, getting into all the nooks and crannies of these octagonal prisms. Try saying that 3 times fast. Then we grab a white ink and I create streaks on an acute angle across all the crystals. This too gives off a nice glow effect as these crystals bounce light up all into themselves. And though this already looks kinda neat, we gotta do some edge highlighting on most, if not all, the crystal edges. I understand. edge highlighting can be a bit of a pain, also kind of difficult for how small these crystals are, but trust me, this will better accentuate the edge of the crystal rather than if we just left it how it is. Though the next step is where this paint job comes alive. We spray on a blue on the darker halves of each individual crystal. No need to be perfect. Getting some overspray on the edges of the brighter sections will create a seamless transition. Then follow that up by spraying green on those lighter sections. Already here, you can really start to see a nice glow and transition, though we still need to brighten it up a bit to get a really good shine and glimmer. So we go back in with a white ink over the green sections once again. Try a bit to keep this coat in the dead center of the green glow to really push the shine to a higher level. And finally, we grab a green ink and go over the entire crystal one last time. And we could call it complete here, but I just want to spice it up a little bit more. Grab an old brush, dip it in some white ink, and in my case, not really a brush, a toothbrush, and flick it all around your crystals. I find the fainter or smaller the splatter on the terrain, the better. No need to go all Jackson Pollock on the thing. And of course, one more final edge highlight with a white ink with a touch of teal added to it. Do this deliberately and lightly. And these puppies, I would say, are looking good. But what about that base? Hold on to your butts, folks. I'm gonna go through this one quickly because I'm excited to get these crystals on the tabletop. First, prime it black and then go over the base with a zenithal highlight with a white ink. Then I spray everything with a sepia or a brown ink. Then grab some brown craft store paint and slap it on with some dry brushing and layering. We then need to grime the stones up with some brown washes. I let that dry and dash on some dry brushies, and finally the best part of this creation is putting the two pieces together with some hot glue. Though we can't forget about adding some fine-grained sand on the edges of the base and maybe a grass tuft here and there. And at this moment in time, looking at these cool-looking crystals, I am calling this build complete. Not gonna lie, this one took me a minute to decipher and figure out, though I am quite happy with these results. It not only looks cool, but it plays cool. I now have a set of intricate and great looking stairs for models and humans to battle on, and it adds a realistic spice to the table and gives some awesome color to a complementary paint scheme. Though I will say, not every build is straightforward. I did at the start want to try hexagons, but soon realized cutting that shaped prism without some sort of jig or stencil was going to be a pain. So I went with octagons as an easier option, and having a number of failed attempts trying to find a paint scheme that most fit my vision of a crystal and my level of skill, well, it took a few more than I thought, but I did make it. So this time around, why don't I close out the video in a little bit of a different way? Don't stop crafting or painting because it doesn't look good right away. Make yourself suffer to the end of your creation. Take some notes and try it again. Who knows, you might even learn something. I want to thank you all for watching, and of course, happy gaming.